Chris? I don't mind doing that. Hold on. Create a highlight real quick. We got it. Why didn't this? That's not the name of this. So let's see. Post shoe. HSRPM 39. There we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the post show. You can tell it's post show. I'm wearing my blue blocker glasses so that the screen time doesn't eat away at my corneas or whatever it does. That's supposed to be bad for you. Thanks for joining us in here, both in the chat room, and then of course, if you can watch the show HSRPM, the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide's on every Saturday from 11 to 1 Central Time. Work that out for yourself, not including daylight savings time. I don't think we're ever affected by it, really, because by the time it happens, it's well past, because it happens on a Saturday night, like tonight. So there you go. Hal, listen to the Hal on the radio. Didn't know he was wearing glasses. I wasn't until the earlier, but there you go. Maybe that's why my corneas are bad. It's supposedly it's a big deal, and I spend so much time working with screens, and especially while I'm, editing music and writing and all that kind of stuff. Hal has the nerd appeal with the glasses. Yeah, I think they don't look half bad. I think. Anyways, so so welcome to the show. This is the post show. I'll be gathering up a short version. Thank you, Chris Bowden. Look at that. Buy more Hal more glasses. Fun. Thank you. So I get several different styles. Should I get the did you guys by any chance see the Nerd Halen video I posted? How many people saw that? Ginger was actually at the Nerd Halen reveal. Yes, like taking a silicone shower to get the Trump off. Hate springing ahead. Yeah, like when you run for office, wear glasses. That's a good idea. There were gaming-oriented glasses that are supposed to protect you from too much screen time, Hal. They don't look too much like dad glasses. Ouch! Oh, dad glasses. These aren't too dad glassy, are they? I don't know. Carl saw it. There you go. Mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper. Yeah. Reloading. All right. Yeah, you can. Yes, it was hilarious. Why, thank you, Tom. Yeah, Nerd Halen is a new thing I'm doing with my buddy Caleb, and he's such a great Eddie Van Halen wannabe player, and he's had this around for a long time, and so he and I started talking about it, and he's like, "Would you be interested in?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I'm interested. That sounds like too much fun." Yeah, Amos, it's worth checking out. I'm gonna post it on this channel later on. But you can follow Nerd Halen on Twitter, and we're gonna, it'll become a thing. I don't know how often we'll do it. We're trying to set up a show right now with Gay AC/DC, the gay AC/DC cover band. I think would be a nice co-headlining gig. That'd be pretty cool. We of course are doing a spattering of mostly DLR songs, but we will be doing some Van Hagar in the process. We did for our debut, we just did 2 songs because it was for the jam. So we did "Running with the Devil" and what was the Van? Because we've been rehearsing so many lately. We did "Best of Both Worlds." Bruce, thank you so much. You guys, I love you guys. Thanks so much for the support. By the way, Super Chats, if there's anything you guys want me to address specifically, I think that's the standard on YouTube, it seems. In the YouTube that I watch whenever somebody does skis it. It's the Ghetto Birds. It's our helicopters flying over. Blue blockers help with getting to sleep if you have screen time before bedtime. I know I've checked. Yes, this is true. Van Halen during Sammy Hagar's was awesome too. I agree. Caleb obviously leans towards older Van Halen and that kind of stuff, and I love that stuff as well, and it's certainly my era as well. But I enjoyed the Van Hagar as a different band, but obviously because it's really showcasing Caleb's guitar playing in a lot of ways, that I'm happy to do either one. So. And so that was really fun. The video of the prototype walls being torn down is border wall prototypes demolished in San Diego. It's great. Oh, awesome. Well, let's see if I can. I'll see if I can call it up on my see if we can watch that and I don't know if I'll be able to. I'll find it somehow. But yeah. By the way, ladies, how is now the teacher? Anybody hot for teacher? Yes, we're doing Jump for sure. We will be doing Hot for Teacher. We're doing Everybody Wants Some. We're doing I think we're gonna do Ice Cream Man, Beautiful Girls, Unchained, which is one of those songs that I was quite like it. I don't know. It just felt like one of those songs that kind of sat in the background as far as Van Halen songs. I gotta find that. What was it? Walls being torn down. What was it? Videos, border wall prototypes. Yeah, I'll bring it up. Hopefully, it won't slow down my computer too much bringing it up on there. Let's see. Wall prototypes. Yeah, hopefully it'll come up in there or whatever. We'll see. The microphone being up too high for Nerd Halen was adorable, or should I say adorable? Yeah, that was kind of the goal. I mean, Paulie's tall, so we've made that joke before just because he leaves the mic up and it's like, his mouth is at my forehead, so it's, whoops. What's that? Get away. I don't need to get, what are you doing? I don't need you. There you go. Torn down. Oh my God, that's so funny. Hold on. Pause. Wait. All right. I'll see if I can. How do we? Let's see. I haven't done one of these in terms of. Let's see. Yeah. You guys hear that? There's a bird in the roof. Good Lord. Screen capture, I think, is what we'll add. Yeah. Capture. Let's see. Custom. Show capture area. There we go. And then drag this guy out. Let's see if I can shrink this down. Yeah. Let's try to move this over here. See if we can bring this up. Hold on. And where do I put it? This is fascinating. I'm enjoying get it in there. There you go. And then we squeeze this down. This is me actually on the fly. Let's see. Trying to move the record shortcuts. Video source 1. Types cut. Where you go. Flip point. Scale mode. Show is 1:1. All right. All right, we'll go live here, and then, don't reload, you jerk. There it is. I wonder why Trump didn't go down and actually sit there for the release of these or whatever. Like, that's sad. That's super funny. Remind me to post that later. Yay, Julie's back. Expensive experiment, you think? I mean, that's not uncommon. I mean, they should be testing stuff like that, obviously. But, like, it was just a lark. Like, it was obviously just sales. Worst Bill Maher show ever last night? Yeah? Oh, good. Glad you finished dinner. That's just ridiculous. They're making artificial hamburgers new and improved with more flavor and last longer out of the counter before it makes you sick. Just kidding about that. I'm looking forward to clean meat, personally. You guys know about clean meat, right? So hamburgers. No, we do not give him any any more undue influence over American culture than he already has earned. That's just absurd. I get so tired of GOP stupid lies, but I really get mad at people who believe them. Cows and hamburgers, just stupid. I don't know what you're referencing to. I mean, I believe the first two parts of that, but I don't know what you mean by that. Getting some lunch, but still watching. Well, good, Brad. Stay, eat something. Stay healthy. And let's see. Okay, I'll bring this guy up. I keep trying to use my mouse from one computer on the other one, and it's just crazy talk. I don't know why I keep doing that. It's a habit. I gotta stop it. It's very difficult. Let's see. Oh, and I forgot to do this. Everything that's used in the show is supposed to be just for you and fair use. There you go. Let's get people off my back about fair use. Here we go. How do you feel about hybrid fish? Aqua bounty, bigger, salmon quicker. I mean, part of it's the future, so there's going to be more of that. Hamburgers are great with Tim apples. That's true. But you don't cook them. You do not cook those kind. CPAC, crazy people acting crazy. Kids are too old. It happens. Can you do more lab rats, please? Well, it's not up to me. It's up to Disney, but I appreciate your love for it. I started eating wraps instead of sandwiches with bread. Not sure it'll work. You're cutting down your carbohydrates by doing that. I mean, that's kind of a good one. Obviously, there's some, lettuce wraps kind of are a way to go as well. We're all going to be eating seaweed in the future. Yeah, that's true. You see more of that. And cricket flour. You see a lot more bugs. We're going to eat a lot more bugs in the future. Get used to that idea. But also, you're going to see a lot more lab-grown meat. Will become a normal part of it. Lab rats obviously chewed the wires again. This is true. Every time you buy a new phone cord, the lab rats are gnawing through it. Hey, Hal, I think he's missing a spleen. What? Let's see. Getting some lunch. Last time we were lunching, can you, let's see. Call the artificial hamburgers. Yep. So that, okay. I'm just scrolling back through. Why worst Bill Maher ever? I didn't watch it. I like Soylent Blue a lot. Yeah. Soylent Green is people. Actually, Soylent Beige is people, Amos. Soylent Green is avocado. Just so you know. It's the hipsters love Soylent Green on toast. Haven't heard of clean meat? Clean meat is this concept of lab-grown meat. So meat cells grown normally, kind of like stem cells, like they're growing stuff, but just meat that is literally grown in a petri dish. Essentially, it requires a lot less resources to grow that than it would require to grow an actual, a full-size animal and kill it. So they're just growing the meat itself, effectively, the tissue. Sure it is. You don't trust me, Amos? After all we've been through? I was referring to your David Lee Roth EMTG. Oh, right. Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. He's missing a spleen. Right. Gotcha. Sorry, I was relating back. I was on 9 different topics before we got back to that AO. So I think that's why Soylent Green is fattening. That's right. But it's a healthy fat, so it's okay. How can Trump still have teeth? He's all on Coke and McDonald's, Big Macs. He gets them replaced regularly. 411 Hector. Trump's teeth. So, there was a story about this. We read this friggin' 2 years ago, I think it was. That he has his he has, let's see. Does Donald Trump wear dentures in investigation? He doesn't wear dentures. He has his veneers replaced every 6 or 7 months. Like, it's crazy. But that whole United States business. Let's see. There's a bug in here, so I had to swing at it. Let's see. Dentures, veneers, or some very shoddy teeth work otherwise, or was our president just too tired after an evening of greasy McDonald's consumption to fully pronounce his syllables? God bless you, United States of America. He apparently, you paid $99 for those glasses? No, I didn't pay $99 for these glasses. I think I paid $12 for them or something. Anyways, apparently Trump has this thing about he gets his he got his teeth redone like more than once a year, and it's really terrible. It's a bad idea. If you've got veneers, you know, like, it's a terrible idea to get them replaced that often, but apparently he's fanatical about them being, blue-white all the time, and he eats so much garbage. And he won't do, I can't imagine him sitting still for white strips or although half the time, if you probably put in one of those things, like go to one of those whitening things, if they knocked him out, which I'm sure he's all for, and, whitened his teeth and just told him they replaced him, he'd go, yeah, they look fantastic. There you go, Hal. There you go, Hal. That is what he does with his teeth. Forgot that. Yeah. Does Trump borrow George Washington's wooden chompers? Right. Let's see. Are those cheaters, Hal? The glasses? No, they don't actually have any. There's no. You can see there's no actual reflection, or magnification rather. Maher hit back at Schlapp with a fake book title, If Obama Did It. Right. Blue-white contrasts nicely with orange. Yeah. Dental implants. I don't think he has implants. I think they're just veneers is the idea. Guacamole is the only use for avocados. Not true at all. As a matter of fact, I've told you guys about this before. I have a avocado dish that I eat really regularly that's super, you get a ripe avocado, not too ripe, not too, bruised and brown, but, getting there. Have it, take the pit out. Inside the skin of the avocado, just cube it, scoop it out with a spoon into a bowl. So it's just kind of like, still got some of its turgidity left. So it's firm, and put a little balsamic vinegar, salt, and pepper on it. Done. Avocado salad, great for you. I just added the blue blockers to my actual glasses. It's smart. Yeah, I need a good recommendation for those blue blockers. I tried a pair that didn't do anything. Well, you shouldn't be able to notice it that much. How can we have a YouTube video contest on how Eric Prince Raid should be executed? Maybe SNL will do a skit. Yeah, seriously. Volume is varying a lot? Okay, that might not be. Don't put your hand underneath when you slice it. Yes, that's a good idea. Maher also had a list of what dictators do. Trump has all the traits. You don't have to yell, Rick. You can just type normally. List of what dictators. What they do. Trump has all the traits. Yeah, that's been floating for a while. They Mother Jones did an article like that last year. Let's see. I do have the best words. When you move away from the mic, the volume goes way down. Oh, good to know. I think this is because it's really turned down. It was hot before when I was sending it to Chicago, so I didn't want to spike it. Check. Is that better? Yeah. What's my favorite color? Red. Got any popcorn trees? Zelda chick. It used to be blue when I was a kid. Now it's red. But where's your good mic? It's It's in Vegas. My good one's in Vegas. I just hit 63 today, but I need glasses for reading for a few years. No. Wait, Carl, today's your birthday? Happy birthday. How did I miss that? Did you guys say that earlier and I just totally blissed it? Oh, nice, Julie. I apologize for the the outline for people who are using for the moderators being blue. You should make it red, but there you go. I beg your pardon. Happy birthday, Carl. I'll have a gift for you when I see you. It's something I should have picked up something at the Space Museum when I was in D.C., but you probably have everything from there. So, orange is a good color. Was blue as a kid, now burnt orange. Burnt orange is a beautiful color. I agree. Are you going live at March 11th? March 11th. I don't know. Cake for Carl. Still eating. Aw, thanks, Carl. That's really sweet. OMG, birthday. It seems like Manafort and his family will. Sixes, thank you. 1333. Last super chat never went through a few weeks ago. Oh, well, thank you, Sixes. That's fantastic. 1333. A very. Is that meant to be a Masonic number? Is that you being Masony with that 1333? I appreciate it. If that's what you're doing. We had last night was this. I had a Scottish Rite meeting, and I don't get to go that often to the Scottish Rite as much as I'd want to because it's on Friday nights, and it's the first Friday of every month is the stated meeting and all that kind of stuff, the regular business meeting, and for Scottish Rite, and you kind of go to that, and but I'm always on tour, and Friday nights a lot of times I'm doing stand up or I have shows, so I don't get to go, but like it turned out I was in town yesterday, and I wasn't expecting to, so I got all that's why I got all suited up and headed down there and stuff. It was really terrific. It was really nice. But the Grandmaster of the Grand Lodge of Masons in California came down and he was gave a little speech and talked and that kind of stuff. And it was I found it very inspiring because he was talking a lot about what do you do to enact your values as a human being. What it's one thing to talk a good talk, but what do you how do your principles play out in your life, and I feel pretty good about obviously doing this show and putting the effort in that I do for that, the activism that I do and the marches and the AIDS walks and all the kind of stuff that I've been involved in and those kind of stuff, volunteering at, the Midnight Mission and other places and Project Angel Food. Like, I felt it was nice to hear him say that and I felt very strongly about it. But in the same thing, I was like, all right, maybe for me, it's just which issues I go after fully, Oh, yeah, 1333 is 666 times 2. There you go. Dun, dun, dun. How you still come to the Pacific Northwest area? I do. What level are you on now? I'm 32nd degree Scottish Rite Mason. Joe Rogan and Alex Jones bromance, divorce is off or a stunt. What do you think? I think Joe Rogan is constantly trying to make sure that his show, which has a huge reach and a great audience, it's hard to keep that fire lit. And Alex Jones and other people who are crazy like that will guarantee you a certain number of hits, And, the interesting thing is it got way more attention than him having Jack and I think it was Tim Pool and somebody else, like two people from Twitter talking to him and Tim Pool about who was kicked off and why and what their platforming issues are and why, some right-wingers get kicked off, but like some Antifa people get to stay on and stuff. And I think that was a valuable conversation people should watch. But it was totally eclipsed by the fact that he had Alex Jones on, and Alex Jones is completely nuts. Alex Jones is the perfect mixture of insane, self-involved maniac and snake oil salesman. Mueller needs to take all the time he needs. Like Malcolm Nance said, when you aim for the president, don't miss. Exactly. No rush on this. And I think the House Democrats need to recognize that they have within their subpoena power and their ability literally to call and investigate everything that Mueller has gone after. Because you can think of Mueller as the Senate outsourcing their responsibility to Robert Mueller, whereas the House can retain that responsibility and act as a separate body even from Mueller. So there you go. Mueller report will be a dud if it doesn't come out with it. Does it haven't come with handcuffs? No, not necessarily. There'll be some indictments. More than likely there will be sealed indictments around him. Let's see. Alex Jones looks like his stroke is having a stroke. Yeah. What's up with Pharma Bro? Was he running a business for president? Yeah, he apparently he had a contraband phone in prison and was still running his let me find that article. Yeah. Pharma Bro Martin Shkreli under investigation for allegedly using a cell phone to run his company from prison. Bureau of Prisons said Friday it's investigating the conduct of notorious former hedge fund manager Martin Shkreli after a report he is using a cell phone from the New York prison where he is serving a 7-year prison term. Shkreli was using a cell phone to help run a pharmaceutical company known as Phoenixus that he helped found. Shkreli even used the phone to attempt to fire the company's chief executive. Like, all that dude has to do is make a phone call. You'd think. Yeah. When there are allegations of misconduct, they are thoroughly investigated and appropriate action is taken if such allegations are proven true. The Bureau said in a statement, this allegation is currently under investigation. Inmates found with a phone, a, quote, greatest severity level act, face a year in prison and a fine. His attorney declined to comment. He estimates the pharmaceutical company could be worth $3.7 billion. So again, would you work for 7 years to make $7 billion? Even if you had to, if it was toil and drudgery? Of course you would. So why the hell would this guy care? If he goes 8 years, 20 years, would you work 20 years at a crap job and ultimately, when you're 35, wake up when you're 55 with $1 billion in the bank? Of course you would. So, Joe Rogan is pretty good sometimes, but it's hard to figure out what he really thinks. No, it isn't. He tells you. It's just that we live in a period where people's political and intellectual philosophies are being branded so heavily. We're a very labeled culture right now. I think that's a factor of advertising more than it is about thought. And I think what people are like, I don't know what side he's on. Well, that's because you're used to sides being labeled. This isn't sports, and there's a lot of overlap. And a lot of times, Democrats and Republicans have been dealing with this for quite some time. Evangelical Republicans and the libertarian Republicans are not the same human beings. As a matter of fact, they're antithetical to each other. And there's arguably libertarians, but for the fact that they don't like, a functioning government, and that they're too, libertarians are morons in general. But a lot of them, as far as socially, have more in common with Democrats, is the irony. He interviewed quite a lot of people, from Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku to political figures, entertainment people, and I believe you'd find one interesting guest you'd like. I was a guest. I've been on Joe Rogan's podcast. And I probably will be again at some point. Although he is, he and I have I committed, I think, you can say almost anything on his podcast and it's okay and you'll get room to expound on it. But I, being a non-drinker and being that I don't drink and that I don't use drugs, and my argument is that they are detrimental to your self existence. I believe that the fundamental difference, as I describe it, between me and Rogan is that Rogan believes that if you have not smoked pot, you are you minus pot, meaning that you're not complete until you have. And my belief is that if you smoke pot, you are you plus pot. It is not integral to your existence. It is simply an addition. And it may help some people and it may hurt some people, but it is not integral to humanity. It is not an essence of who you are. And so, and he clearly doesn't feel that way, both about that and I guess DMT and those, and kind of ayahuasca type stuff, that he feels those are essential to, that the default of the mind is closed, and therefore you need these things to open them. And I think they are the fast food of enlightenment, and that the default of the human brain is open. As a child especially, it becomes closed, and not necessarily a bad way, over the course of your life. And it can become too closed, and you need to open it through effort, through philosophical and mental effort. And drugs will give you can sometimes give people a temporary, wedge into those areas. But in fact, it is like using to me, it's like using I don't know, like being like a temporary, one of those giant slingshots they have in Vegas where they can put you on a wire and they just shoot you, or a trampoline. It's like using a trampoline to see a mountaintop. Yeah, you'll see it, but you come right back down. And it's better to do the work of walking up the mountain. Joe Rogan had an interview with Andrew Yang, who is a candidate that is campaigning on the issue of universal basic income. Andrew Yang did a very well thought out breakdown on the funding for it. That makes sense, Al. The difference is crucial. Thank you. I think so. I mean, it is. Here's the thing. It's my philosophy. It does not have to be anyone else's philosophy, but I truly believe it, or I wouldn't say it. And it is integral to my belief about human existence. And I will, I will stand by that belief system, right? My birthday is September 25th. I'm a Libra. Also not a drinker. I don't like to distract from the feeling of presence. I like being here fully. Yeah, that is exactly right. Drugs are entertainment, in my opinion. Sometimes entertainment enlightens. Other times it's a way to distract oneself from life. Yeah, clearly. Pot being the fast food of enlightenment is a great way to put it. Yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't. Pot helps me with creativity. I don't think it helps you with creativity. I think it may eliminate some of your editorial limitations around your natural creativity. Everything creative about you already exists. Marijuana isn't a drug, it's a supplement. Our bodies were made with natural receptors, and it really rights a lot of wrongs for people. I hate it when it gets lumped in with other things. Yes, it can be supplemental. Right. I don't smoke anything. I have typically one drink on Saturday night with dinner. Yeah. And again, I do not have an essential problem with any of the uses that people put them to. The only difference I would add, I would say, is that they are not integral to humanity, that everything that they bring out is already present. The new weed strains out there are very potent and can send some newbies into a psychotic episode. You got to be careful. Agreed. I like Pete Holmes' view. It's good, but it's not good for everyone, right? Rogan also has given far too much platform to hysterical creeps like Jordan Peterson. I don't consider Peterson a hysterical creep. I have issues with how he presents some of his philosophy. I don't have inherent problems with some of his philosophical stuff. Even stuff that gets, a bad name around stuff. And I think as Americans, we view it differently how Canadians view their free speech rights. And they have to make a bigger stand because they do not have inherent free speech laws in Canada. Same problem with England. Like the free speech advocates in both of those areas have a harder hill to climb, so they are a little more forceful in their pushback on it. In America, we take our free speech rights for granted. Smoking is a bad idea. I'm looking for something edible, right? Pot makes me paranoid. Oh, yeah? How do you know? Who told you that? My wife has started to use cannabis oil for pain lately. Yeah, like CBD oil it can be very effective. Has nothing to do, zero to do with the argument about whether or not pot is a drug, in terms of its shaping of your mental philosophy, because it has zero effect on your thoughts, unless you consider like the alleviation of pain in any way allows you to think more clearly. Yeah, that would only be the area, but it certainly doesn't change your thought form at all. I used to drink, but now I so enjoy waking up every day with no hangover. Life is good. Yeah. My mind was altered about 1970. Well, that would be the time to do it. Peterson is a crypto-fascist Christian apologist. I don't know that he's a Christian apologist. I think he believes in Abrahamic traditional thought in some areas. The crypto-fascist thing, I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, I'm going to need more explanation by what you mean. Chronic debilitating back pain from 2006 to 2012. It cost me 2 jobs. Since cannabis, my back hasn't gone out in 7 years. I've now been healthier longer thanks to cannabis. Agreed. Now we just have to get diet and hydration in order. Because again, if you give your body what it needs, it doesn't need the supplementation as much. That's always got to be the push. CBD oil only helps me sleep. Nothing else. Does nothing for pain. Well, again, these are going to affect you differently. Up here, Hal, I can say anything I want as long as it is not controversial. Exactly, Tom. That is one area where we take our free speech rules for granted in the States. Never smoked, never drank, never wanted to. Me neither, Julie. I also attribute it to my cancer success story. Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right, Ginger. I think that's the untapped area of that. I mean, legally and medically, I have no blah, blah, blah. But I think they need to study that and get right at it, because it seems to point in that direction for a lot of people. I use hemp oil drops every day because it's only for you to get legally without a CBD oil prescription. I don't know. Do you need a CBD oil prescription everywhere? I don't know what the rules are. Maybe I'm just taking it for granted that in California and Nevada it's been legal for a long time, because it's not the same thing. My lower back hurts today because I had to stand for over 2 hours last night to see Martin Barr. That's because my abs are out of shape. Right. Well, that's the thing. Do you play video games? If you do, which ones? Mainly Call of Duty. I also like the Lord of the Rings related games that they put out, and I like a lot of classic upright games. Robotron is one of my favorites. Galaga, Speed, Miss Pac-Man, Sinistar, of course, because I have one. My kid and I play the Lego Avengers games. I am curious about what you meant about Peterson's crypto-fascist thing, because I don't know that I see that, so I'm trying to run, coward. Right? CBD oil is legal everywhere. It has no PCH. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Missed my opportunity to cheer at your show when you said you didn't drink, Hal. Oh, thanks, Zelda. Yeah, I throw that in there as a kind of how are you with ketamine being approved for severe depression? That seems weird to like that. The fact that they're basically club drugging that stuff is tough. Now that's the FDA is approving it for, and that's extreme cases, but it's the same as this whole lobster dominance, ancient patriarchy, gobbledygook. Peterson debate Matt Dillahunty for a good example why Peterson is a hysteric and a gish galloper. Well, I don't disagree with him that the lobster allegory for hierarchy, and the difference between He's arguing the natural order of hierarchies, that hierarchies exist in nature, period. And that you only need, lobsters haven't changed in millions of years, and therefore you can kind of look to that's how nature arranges itself. The difference is, do you do it simply by physical dominance or by competency? And the argument for a better society is that you would actually organize your hierarchy in terms of competency, not just on who has the biggest gun in town or physically can dominate other people, which I think is a good thing. So, I haven't seen his debate with Dillahunty, and I don't think he qualifies as a hysteric. He's pretty, he's pretty measured as Canadians go. They're also being very cautious about the distribution of ketamine-based medication. If a person has to get a location and dose, they don't give them a supply to take home. Yeah, Isn't CBD made from hemp? No, CBD is actually made from marijuana plants specifically. Because I think hemp is devoid of the cannabinoids that would be necessary for it. Gish Gallop is an old saying. Yes, I know. It's a debate technique where you throw out 9 lies and the person only has time to answer one, so it creates the illusion that the other 8 are false. Are correct by default. Since you only answered one, then the other ones must be right. David Pakman doesn't know old sayings. I like David Pakman. Although I thought it was cute that he didn't know who I was when I met him. It's like it was funny that he lived in a bubble, because I'm talking to Malcolm Nance and a bunch of other people, and he had this kind of like, huh? Peterson is not saying what you think he is saying. Well, I read the book. I mean, I think that's, my reading comprehension's fairly solid. I think, I think the perception of what he's talking about has been shaped quite a bit, but, again, I'm not, anyways, let's see. Pakman stole the joke from my tweet. The nerve of David Pakman to do that. He is good people, though. We like him. I haven't had a medical rec in a while. Recommendation, REC, I don't know what you mean, Ginger, but there you go. Kind of interested in if they'll approve MDMA for PTSD. Been researching. Well, they were talking about ecstasy for a while for that. I mean, it was initially what ecstasy was allegedly created for, was helping people reframe, horrifyingly bad, traumatic events, and helping, and it was effective for that. And then, but it became a club drug, and then they had to stop it, because that's how basically the DEA in many ways is a hammer in a world full of nails, and they have to be, because drugs that are, unregulated drugs used for their prescriptive, non-prescriptive abilities can be very dangerous very quickly. And one need only look to my home state of Kentucky, where bath salts became a thing. And then once they started scooping up these bath salts from gas stations and keeping people from getting them, people started spraying Raid on potpourri and smoking it. So, I mean, the DEA is constantly putting out new fires created by people and lining up to destroy themselves. So, again, I'm not, immediately, anyways. CBS, CNN, radio news during HSRPM. Check out Twitter. That's the reporter I heard on CPT who sounds like you. Same delivery. That's interesting. Not in Florida unless you have a prescription for medical marijuana. CBD oil drops are illegal. Hemp oil drops are legal, but as we all know, they are not as potent as CBD oil. Yeah, they're effectively, I would say they're not even there. Oh, thanks, Zelda Chick. Look at that. Because I was smiling pretty much all week, seriously, and problematic makes me laugh now. Good vibes, round 2, fight also. Hope my letter wasn't too long. No, it was not, and I appreciate it greatly. And thank you. I'm glad this is being thought-provoking. That was brand new that weekend, too. So, yeah, there you go. He smuggles Christianity and a rigid ancient frame of thought, a fascist one, into his poorly framed Jungian bullshit. On the surface, you could make the rational conclusion that you have, Hal. But, well, no. I'm making it based on what he said. The slippery slope argument is made often about anybody who's trying to make any kind of large, sweeping philosophical statements. But overall, you know, I don't know about smuggling Christianity. There's nothing inherently wrong with believing Christian principles, especially if you mean the good ones. And and the rigid ancient frame of thought part, I don't know that those don't overlay with fascist. Like, there's nothing. Yeah, that I just think that's a broad brush word that doesn't fit. That's, yeah. Can you say hi to Kelly Berglund? Absolutely. Hi, Kelly. Yes, I will say hi to her. That's just whack raid smoking. My God. Yeah, I know, Amos. That's what I'm saying. Like, the number of things that the DEA, like, hey, guys, he doesn't understand people. Hell, he's a clinical psychologist. I don't think he doesn't understand people. I mean, obviously something about him sticks in your craw specifically. You can be a Catholic and practice Buddhism. Not according to the Pope, but Buddhism is not, technically, Buddhism is not a religion. Buddhism is a system of mental hygiene around meditation on a deity. It's not the exact same thing. A religion, the term religion comes from religio, as in ligament, as in tie, to rebind, to tie yourself back to God. And the idea that it's separate, that by sinning you separate yourself from God and you require religion to bind yourself back to God is the essence of religion. And the Abrahamic religions arguably are the only religions that exist because they are the main ones that believe that you can be separate. In Buddhism, the idea that you can be separate from God is like rays being separate from the sun. It's not possible. You can only be mistaken, right? And you only need gentle correction. So, but like I said, religions are only something's only a religion if it has a hell, essentially. So there you go. Or a discard, a permanent discard. Like even the hell in Buddhism or in the Indian sects of Buddhism even the hell you go to, you can still get out simply by writing your thoughts. Smuggling Christianity. Next, you'll say there's a war on Easter. I think Jordan Peterson is trying to make nuanced arguments about life that also push back on what he considers political correctness, and his writings are eagerly co-opted by the alt-right. I would agree with that. I'm for regulated open market RE cannabis, even though I do not partake. Yeah, exactly. Hell? Yeah. The idea is that only a religion, something's only a religion if it has a hell, meaning that it only qualifies as a spiritual system that believes that in separation from the deity and the need for being bound back to God, that's the only thing where you would have a hell. If they don't have a hell, then you are in constant connection with God. Therefore, you cannot be bound back to something you never left. Therefore, this is all philosophical argument. It doesn't matter in your belief system, but there's a definite difference between the kinds of religions where you can be cast out into a lake of fire or burned up or dismissed as a soul forever, and the ones that believe that even at your most mistaken, you are still connected to God. Yeah, which is ridiculous because God showed his love for humanity by giving them free will, but man believes that God wants us to be bound, so religion. Well, this is the argument, is free will the right to be wrong? And is the act of being religious not, and religio, not necessarily binding yourself back to God, is an act that you do, not someone else does. Creating stronger, we use the phrase having stronger ties to God, or whatever. That's the kind of example I would give. So it's not an automatic, I don't necessarily buy into that religion in and of itself, as an inherent wrong. Let's see, which is ridiculous because God shows, let's see. I saw this amazing saying, God loved the bird, so he created trees. Man loved the bird, so he created cages. Well, God also created bigger birds to eat those birds' eggs, and foxes and weasels and humans that eat birds. And, so not so simple as that, I would say. And those cages, in some cases, can be said to protect those birds from the birds that would have killed them and allowed them to live longer. Humanity has chosen certain animals to live longer than they may have, even while we have obviously wiped out some that deserved, every chance by over-farming them and those kind of things. We created a situation where we protect animals that would naturally have been wiped out from their habitat by other animals because we thought they were pretty, or they make a noise when the bird box monsters come. I don't know, whatever. Haha, Brad, you missed the big pod discussion, though. There's always one to be had. And there's Hal saying that as I'm typing, yeah, right. Something that does not exist cannot be the cause of anything. What are you referring to? The Abrahamic Messianic religions are all simply based on a guy who became self-realized, formed a philosophy, then folks proceeded to infuse it with confusion in an attempt to hold. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that the Abrahamic religions or whatever are what gummed them up was tribal law being mixed in with an understanding of God as people had it, and a lot of that had to do with lack of technology. If you don't have enough cops, you need people policing themselves. Morality is an internal cop. Hell, the potential for hell and heaven are childish, but they are inherently valuable tools for in the internal moral policing of society. If you fear going to hell, or you want to go to heaven, you wish heaven for those around you and yourself, you might act a little better when there isn't a cop around. What kind of sadist creates someone in his image, then tells you that you wouldn't be anything at all without him, so curb all your natural instincts because they're evil? Well, I don't think he would. I think that's tribal law. That's what I'm saying. I think the tribal elders were going, well, people seem to get the idea that you shouldn't just kill people randomly or steal. There's some sort of morally, people have a moral awareness that there's something bigger to this life, and maybe screwing people over and hurting them isn't a good thing to do. So why don't we attach some other tribal needs that we have to that and help to write those in? And the obvious one would be things like not eating pork because of trichinosis. Trichinosis being an inherent problem with consumption of pork, make pork, against our religion in an act to save people. A positive act for the use of moral control for a positive act. The same thing could be said of, their attempts to protect themselves, their tribe, from venereal disease by and sexually transmitted infections by limiting mating. Or I even said, like in my first special, we're talking about like the keeping track of family trees by organizing relationships so that we don't have a bunch of cousin marrying, right? And so it might look like, a violent act of control, and the church wants to judge who you marry and whatnot. But at the same time, they're still trying to solve a problem they clearly say have in front of them. And we might have better ways of doing that now. We have 23andMe and all kinds of stuff, and you pretty much can be aware, thanks to the internet, who you're related to and whatnot. They didn't have that back then. So this was a solution that they came up with. There you go. That's very good. The term internal policing, it requires belief. Yeah, it had value, John. That internal policing had value for the society, for the lives of the people. Moral awareness by living creatures, for me, constitutes primary evidence for the existence of God. Do I have doubts? Yes, unfortunately. Okay, yeah, well said. How exactly? Morality is an internal cop, which is why atheists are more moral than Christians, because we do the right thing because it's the right thing, not because of God's punishment or reward. Well, that's, no. That's, it doesn't mean you're more moral. It might mean you have a more adult view of the things that you do, but you also have a limitation on that moral thing, because ultimately, atheists, and not, they can't be moral, but that morality of theirs is a choice. It's kind of like my argument about married people versus single people. Single people have to be more in love than married people, because married people have to, like, change bank accounts and go through legal paperwork to break up, whereas single people can break up anytime they want and just walk. And so they have to think up a new reason to be in love every single day. It takes more activity. You don't have the training wheels, right? Of the, the, like, oh my God, how are we going to sell half the house and blah, 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 like all that stuff. So it's easier, there's a little bit of your relationship that's on autopilot, because it would take too much work. So as a single person, though, you have to remind yourself all the time, why am I staying in this relationship? Why do I care? Constantly remind yourself of that, because you could go at any point. So, and I agree, Carl, we should not get into a contest about the morality of Christians or atheists. Here's a good idea. Be moral. Act in a moral way towards the people around you. That being said, this idea, atheism does run aground in one area, in that all atheistic morality is a choice, and is untethered from anything other than personal choice in that regard. So there is always a thought that you will do, an atheist will do anything to give themselves an edge. This is the fear around atheists, and the concern with them morally that keeps coming up, is that if it gives you an evolutionary advantage as an atheist, you have almost a moral responsibility within it to take that advantage. Now, some people think that advantage is of, if I come from a long line of good people, my offspring might have a better chance of surviving. Other people might go, if I kill that guy and take his stuff, that's my genetic advantage in this circumstance. There you go. Once you become self-realized, you develop your own unified world image and philosophy that allows you to be self-governing, as Hal Sparks has alluded. No need for a law rule to tell you what's right. Yeah, but the assumption that everyone else is there already is incredibly arrogant. And, and again, I would argue, can't stop lying, that's the difference between, like, libertarianism as a self-dealing philosophy and what's meaningful to you, versus some idea that, like the libertarian fantasy of, well, if we just stop having the government look over the market will take care of it. People will just, because it's bad for business. This Rand Paul idea that if a store sells rotten meat, people will just stop going there. This, like Ron Paul made this argument. Like, if people get trichinosis, or they get E. coli from the store, they'll just stop going there. Like, well, yeah, but they'll be dead. It'll be too late. And we as a society have already decided we're going to set up rules around that limit that give us a wider margin for error in the regular movement of our lives, right? Christianity guarantees morality is not a reality. I don't know what you mean. There's no way of knowing what God is. Yeah, well, that's why knowledge and faith are completely separate thought forms. They are completely unlinked. Very few are self-realized. Very few are self-realized. Haven't a self-realized libertarian yet? Haven't met one? Yeah. John Fugelsang has put it well. Name one Christian principle that Trump has enacted through policy or espoused as a governing goal. I'm paraphrasing. Right. I believe the children are our future. Well, not really, because they'll be adults. Those glasses look good on you. Well, thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it. I forgot I had them on for a minute. There's a lot of delusional Christians out there, Evernum. Sorry, typing too fast. It happens. Did you watch Stranger Things? If you did, which character favorite? I didn't watch it. It's one of those, like, I didn't get on board early enough. And, yeah. By the way, isn't our religion the house of Hal? Kinda. Glasses make the discussion all the more legit, doesn't it? And, yeah, there you go. That's a marker of faith. That glasses mean smart, like crosses mean moral, right? It is that idea, and it's a shame. And the irony that most Christians, for example, would view someone like Ozzy Osbourne, as satanic or what have you. But if you listen to like Revelation Mother Earth, for example, it's like literally a song about not destroying the earth, or War Pigs, which is literally about, like, the guys who start wars just to kill people should burn in hell and God frowns upon it. Which I would argue is far more Christian than anybody who's, voting for Trump. Aren't I a Unitarian Universalist minister? Yes, I am. So that I can marry people, yes. I loved Stranger Things. It was like Stephen King and Steven Spielberg got together and had a baby. I see religion as a system to teach base morals from a young age, and the use of heaven helps alleviate the instinctive fear of death, besides punishment and reward. I would agree with that. So, what do you mean, no true Scotsman? In regard to which argument, John? I am kind of out of it, but I think I would have heard about a new Stranger Things. Right? Chimpanzees have an awareness of stealing and injustice. They also demonstrate altruism. Which has a lot to do with their hierarchical aspect of their the dominance hierarchy within them. That the dominance is not in high order animals is not always based on displays of strength, for example. It's not like mountain goats, right? It's hard to place the exact moment. I type slow. Understood. No worries. People have used religion to justify breaking most of the commandments. Well, not all religions believe in those commandments. And in the relative, one of the reasons, ladies and gentlemen, one of the reasons why we have, why our founding fathers were deists and not Christian, not Judeo-Christian, is the very fact that the Bill of Rights in its creation is a direct refutation of the Ten Commandments on a couple of fronts. Obviously, the First and Second amendments in the Bill of Rights have, obviously having a gun and thou shalt not kill are a bit awkward with each other. But the very first one, the First Amendment that basically guarantees secular religious plurality and the ability to worship whatever God you want, and the and freedom of the freedom of speech. Both of those are affronts to the first two commandments. They are effectively primary violations of the first two commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The First Amendment codifies in law that you very well may if you choose to, and you are protected in law by doing that. Thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Well, if you have freedom of speech, you can say whatever the hell you want. I would also argue that unlike the common concept of saying Jesus Christ or God damn it being taking the Lord's name in vain, I would say that actually taking the Lord's name in vain is the claimation of the claiming of Christianity, that I am a follower of Jesus, or that I am a servant of God, or I believe in the Catholic Church, or I'm a good Jew, or I'm a good Muslim, and doing things that are against that piety, using it as cover, is vanity. Literally hiding behind the name of God to commit criminal acts is really what it means to take the Lord's name in vain, not simply just saying it. Finally got your California rainstorm in Chicago. Yeah, well, it took a while. George Carlin bit on the Ten Commandments is my favorite. Yeah, you can basically boil it down to two. The Founding Fathers killed people, stole their land, stole people. The Founding Fathers were born here. George Washington was born in the colonies. They had been here for hundreds of years. They would arguably be the DACA recipients of the initial invasion, as it were. And there were plenty of Native American tribes that killed other Native American tribes in the process. If you watch the movie Hostiles, which I really enjoyed, and I thought it made a good, statement about, people coming to a point of forgiveness, where it had this, commander who'd fought against the Lakota Sioux, and this Lakota Sioux leader who was dying, and they were going to, as a part of trying to, even out relationships, they were going to travel this guy, this Lakota Sioux leader back to his land so he could die there. And the guy who had to escort him was a guy who had fought in battle against him for 12 years. And they had both murdered each other's kind for a long time, had to deal with that fact. And they were making this movie, and I appreciate where they were going, but they were, they're making this case that, it should be about forgiveness and conversation, and you can't just look at each other like hostile people forever and ever. It can't work that way. But one of the things that bound these people together, one of the big binding factors between these two, this Native American leader and this effectively Union general that fought against him. Yeah, it was with Christian Bale. It's a great movie. The thing that bound them together is that the Comanches are snake people. If it wasn't for the fact that both of them were afraid of being killed by the Comanche Indians, and that the Comanche Indians weren't seen by the Lakota Sioux and by the settlers themselves as baby murdering, face-painted monsters, literally it was the binding point between them. So, it's a fascinating look into the realities of that time, and we paint with a very broad brush when, if you look at, let me see if I can bring it up. 1 second. So George Mason wrote, if you go to the National Archives, he wrote the original Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was into the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, were initially written by George Mason, and it was called the Mason's Virginia Declaration of Rights in June 1776. And it was the basis for that. And the, he very, let's see if I can bring it up very distinctly. This was much more inclusive, and they called the initial, our initial document, the Constitution, the Great Compromise. And it was because there were the Comanches had a huge empire and slaves. Yeah. I mean, the wars between the Iroquois and between the Lakota Sioux and the Pawnee and stuff equaled every fight you ever saw in Europe. And so this, it undermines, I think, the humanity of Native Americans too, to kind of paint them as reindeer or something that were without agency and were animals until the West showed up and brushed them aside. And it would have been, and this is probably my most controversial thought ever, but I happen to believe that had Northern Europeans remained pagan and not fallen under the Abrahamic religions, largely in response to a Muslim push north and the Christian fight back against it, if they had remained pagans, we would have had more of a fusion-based society with the Native American population. That when the Europeans came here, they would have fused with this society and blended better. The Comanches were the reason the Spanish population of Texas was so little before we took it over. Yeah, well, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, her last name is from the guy who, that's the reason they speak Spanish in Mexico and not Nahuatl, which is the natural language. Spanish is as much a conquering language and a colonial language as English is, if not more so. 24 million people killed by smallpox. The entire west coast of the United States before it was taken by what would be the British, Irish, and German settlers coming that way. The Spaniards had done it and were already spreading to South America. I mean, we speak Spanish and Guarani in Paraguay. Is Guarani the native language? I'm not familiar, but I'm guaranteed Spanish isn't the native language. It's the same. Spanish is the English of Mexico. The clamation that it is somehow like a specially protected heritage language, yeah. Like the French population following Champlain were more like that. How that's true, right? Like I don't know why there isn't a push to teach French in Connecticut and Maine and New York State and all that border Canada for the exact same reason of Spanish being taught in Southern California. Yeah, Guarani is the native language, right? Hepatitis A killed many Native Americans, and smallpox, right? The as I understand it, Cortez's big gift, he took the Aztec king hostage, held him for a little while, and brought him out, made him basically say, we're going to follow these guys, and his own people stoned him to death. And then they escaped with some gold and some stuff, and by the time they came back, everybody died of smallpox. I mean, it's obviously the truncated drunk history version of it, but that's a big part of it. Cortez was a genocidal force for the Spanish conquest of the world. Yeah, and some of it not even intentional. Where a bit goes, why Europe usually makes sure folks know 2 to 3 languages. Right. That's because they border a bunch of countries where the natural language occurred through there, though, too. The Germanic and Austrian, Bavarian languages and the French and all that, like, the Nordic languages, Norwegian, Swedish. Obviously you've got Belgium, which is, basically half Finnish and half French as far as the language there. Yeah. All the languages, all the master languages over here right now are all, colonial languages: English, Spanish, and Italian, and French. I think AOC can be a credible Democratic candidate 10 to 15 years from now if she stays in politics. I hope so. Yeah. The U.S. is the third largest Spanish-speaking country in the world. Yeah. Still different from native nations and languages, roughly over 500. Let's see. Yeah, but we're a melting pot. We have no excuse. Well, no, because, here's the thing. Yeah, but we're a melting pot. I've said this before, Can't Stop Lying, and this is, probably unpopular opinion number 2, but English is a standardized language for the country to help with communication. It doesn't preclude you from knowing other languages, but it is helpful that it is a unifying language. Like I think it's a little sad that in Germany it's you can speak English pretty much everywhere. There's almost no one that can't speak English over there or whatever, and it would be I like the idea that countries can have their own languages and stuff. If suddenly China just started speaking English all the time, and that part of the society and the writing and everything like that died off or whatever simply because of monetary expediency, that would be a very sad thing. And I think that should apply to European countries as well. And certainly in the United States, it's a homogenizing factor for communication. We communicate in words. So I think it's a good idea. Do I think it should be forced? No, of course not, because we're a free country. But I think it's a good idea to learn English, and very well. It raises your chances of being a success in the country, because it is a largely English-speaking country, and you're going to be left behind and limited in who you can talk to if you only speak your native tongue when you come here. The diversity is the root of our strength, not the fruit of our strength. We all come together from different societies and different ideas, and we get together, and the trunk of the tree of this democracy is built on the unifying aspects of our culture, the things we agree on, the things that we can all subscribe to. The fruit that is born by that tree is equally beneficial to everyone. We don't just grab it, pluck it, and run off back to our tribe. That's not the point. And it can't be. Otherwise, that's not what the United States is. I mean, there's nothing stopping any country. I'm not saying English shouldn't be our main thing, but most Americans know no other languages. Yeah, I completely agree we should all learn another language. There's no question there. We agree on that, yeah. Loved John from Cincinnati, but luck was the best of all. I don't know what that is. Or we break out our phone and Google Translate. That's right. You can do that pretty much all over Europe now. There's even an earpiece you can wear. We're getting very close to that. But there's something about memorizing and learning a language and being able to articulate yourself through it. Dreaming in another language is an extraordinary experience. And if you just use a translator, you can't know what that feels like. And it also is better for your brain. It is just simply learning a musical instrument, learning a foreign language shapes how you accept problems and solutions. So, thank you, Free Thinker. I don't know what you're talking about with Deadwood. I didn't watch it, so or luck. Do you guys where are we going? I'm going to try to jump back in there. Bought beginner and moderate Spanish courses recently. I want to learn at least 2 more languages. Forgotten a lot of my high school French. Yeah. There are more English speakers in the Philippines and Nigeria than there are in England. That's just by volume. And, again, I don't know what the pushback, and India, India's got 1 billion people. That's true of almost anything. That's when you get into the statistical area where It gets fairly gnarly, and like this is one of the things that I think is missing in the conversation about how we deal with jihadis or radical Islam, that kind of idea or whatever. And why they go like, why are these people over? Why do they have this vehement reaction? Where like, well, statistically speaking, by material numbers, there are more anti-gay jihad-supporting Muslims in the world than there are in the population of the entire United States and England combined. And even in the United States, we are open to and allow for varying beliefs to a certain extent. So this isn't even a homogenous group to push back against it or whatever. And so there's a reason why a lot of people panic about that part or whatever. And education and to some degree technology and information are crucial to dealing with this. But that's, when you're about to kick that to the curb whole cloth and go, these people are just xenophobic or hateful or whatever, give them a little bit of a psychological break and then understand you're talk to someone as if they're a human being with real concerns, and even their dumb concerns can be closer to being alleviated, is my point. So, have you been hearing about AOC's scandals hitting the news? Yes. Well, like apparently having her boyfriend on her campaign staff and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know that he's not actually literally a part of her campaign. Her campaign was so small, I believe that he was actually a crucial part of it. I have no reason to believe why not. I love our little disagreements in this group as much as our agreements. Expand your views. Exactly. We should, that's the nice thing about being able to talk about this. Yeah. There you go. If Trump is the new standard, AOC is a saint. Yeah, exactly. I'm not worried. Do any of you still boycott Chick-fil-A like I do? Yeah, I don't eat there. I don't boycott it. I just don't eat there. A, it's bad, too salty, bad food, and they're anti-gay. Like, that's, again, this is the thing about like some businesses. Like, it would be one thing, wherein people had a real issue with, some particular store, or they wanted to boycott them or whatever. And back in the day, there used to be, you're pretty limited. If it's basically like, well, if I don't like Pepsi and we're boycotting Coke, that's it. Now there's so much stuff, like it's ridiculous. So like even a boycott, half the time I'm going to boycott this company, but their parent company is the same company that owns the other. Like, I hate Taco Bell. I'm never going to Taco Bell again. I'm going to Wendy's. Like, well, Wendy's is owned by the same company, right? Or Frito-Lay owns half of them, So it's one of those things. I don't eat it and boycott it too. It must be easy. You are too. That's right. It makes it so much easier. I only visit Chick-fil-A on Sundays. Right, because they're closed. I get you. Thank you for giving us a safe place to disagree, Hal, and always leading the way to communicate and understanding, if not empathy and agreement. Well, thanks, Ginger. Thanks for noticing. I appreciate it. Mohammed Bonesaw, who jailed the women he let drive, was partying with Jared while Cohen was testifying. Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of hypocrisy is the dangerous part of it. And that's why, again, it's one of the reasons why they don't like the United States, because with all of our flaws, we do have, equal protection under the law, codified in our law. And it's something they wish didn't exist. And so they want people in office who will chip away at that equal protection. And so it matters every time you vote whether or not you're going to have somebody who's going to do that. It's like Hobby Lobby. I don't want to forbid them from doing business in my community, but they're not getting any of my money. Right. Dude, you can always go to Michael's. If there is one, or God forbid, a little mom and pop craft store. I boycotted. I love their sandwiches. Grew up in Atlanta where it started, but won't eat there. Don't want my money going where I send it. Yeah, well, We don't have that problem in Germany. Hardly any fast food places, only Burger King and McDonald's, right? AOC should have a graphic novel. AOC is a graphic novel right now. No good food in Europe? What? What? What are you talking about? No good food in Europe. W. West. Thought of going to Chick-fil-A for the first time on Sunday. I guess I'll never get my business right. I like when he's. Oh, I see. Fine. Just making sure. We need we need to agree on the sarcasm emoji. I hate Chick-fil-A because of this smell of it makes me nauseous. I went there. They pump it out over the air. Like you literally on Sunset Boulevard in Highland, there's one, and they literally have a fan blowing it out onto the street. So it just stinks. And the car smells like it, but like for blocks. Oh, by the way, so you guys know in my let's see if I can find it. New study. High fat diet. Okay. So the so not only should well, hold on, I'm going to wait for this to come up, whatever. The dietary guidelines around fat in your food is not what's better, French bread or Italian? Well, French bread if you need a bag of groceries in a sitcom. There is no such thing as a bag of groceries in a sitcom that does not have French bread sticking out of the top. Nerd Helen need to do a Bandcamp album release. I agree. Distracted by chat again. Belgium has the best beer, I hear. Well, that's interesting. French bread, yep. Use French bread as a weapon. Yeah, after it's gotten stale. There's a window, though, because it's got, when it's hardened, sourdough especially, it'll harden up for a while, but then it gets too brittle and it just turns to dust. That's how I had to stop going to Chick-fil-A, even to the window drive-up, because it grossed me out so much. Jesus, it stinks up your friggin' car. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So, Lancet, which is, the medical journal, did a study, and this I think is so frigging huge that I can't stress it enough. And the study basically is it's called Associations of Fats and Carbohydrate Intake with Cardiovascular Disease and Mortality in 18 Countries to FRO 5 continents, a prospective cohort study. Largest study on dietary health ever. 118,000 participants. 135,335 individuals recording using validated food frequency questionnaires. Documented 5,796 deaths and 4,784 major cardiovascular disease. Higher carbohydrate intake was associated with an increased risk of total mortality versus the lowest quintile, but not with the risk of cardiovascular disease or cardiovascular disease mortality. Intake of total fat, and each type of fat was associated with a lower risk of total mortality. High-fat diets, so high carbohydrate diets, raise your chance of dying because of health complications by 28%, approximately. And it's broken down into a bunch of different ones, but basically that's it. High carbohydrate diets, bad. Doesn't mean cut all your carbohydrates. You need some of them, but there's no baseline. And high-fat diets bring your expectation of death below the norm, meaning they are positively affected, higher fat in the diet. Carbohydrates, bad way to get fat in your diet because you produce it because of the sugars. Fat, good way to get it in. Whole fats. So there you go. This is high carbohydrate intake was associated with a higher risk for total mortality. Total fat and individual types of fat were related to lower total mortality. Total fat and types of fat were not associated with cardiovascular disease, myocardial infarction, or cardiovascular disease mortality, whereas saturated fat had an inverse association with stroke. So cheap saturated fats, obviously something to avoid for stroke, but only in a marginal level. Global dietary guidelines should be reconsidered in light of these findings. That's huge. Run that through what you've been told for the last 40 years? Something like that? Hal has evolved to have a large forehead. Soon he'll grow a sixth finger like Dave. That's true. Many of the bread sold in stores around the country is Ganella bread from Chicago. That's true. There have been some rumblings that the research in the 70s about high-fat diets being unhealthy were influenced by money from the sugar industry. It would point to that. Nice one with leg sixes. They actually crack me up. I love butter. Cooking with, when people cooked with butter and lard in the 20s and 30s, they had better cardiac health than they do now. What the hell? One of the worst things you can do is cook with canola oil or hydrogenated oils, like hardened oils. Like I can't believe it's not butter and margarine and all that crap. It's terrible for you. But mortality will always be 100%. Ginger, right, wait, where did Hal Sparks go? Oh, wait, there he is. Lois Lane was an idiot. So... honestly, that, yes, margarine is terrible. They still sell lard in the store. Yes, they do. And you can cook with it. Oh, it's called natural food. Exactly. Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm all about scientific advancements in food and the human body being able to adapt to those. Some of the best of it has been in the fitness industry as far as like protein shakes and what's available in there and the nutritive value of those kind of things. Overall, pretty great response physically to what you're using and as far as keeping your body overall in pretty good health. So I'm for that. But when it comes to the area of cheap carbohydrates and processed oils, like it's a dangerous game we've been playing for a long time, and they are messing people up. Almost everyone was skinny until high fructose corn syrup started. Well, yeah, that's obviously a big. Didn't hydrogenated oils get outlawed? Canada passed that law about saturated fats, and we passed a similar law here simply because we sell so many things back and forth across the border that we couldn't export it to Canada. That was one of the trickiest things that Canada did for their own benefit and also to protect their own import and export situation. People worked hard in those days, no sedentary lifestyles. They had a lot of sedentary lifestyles. There were a lot of people who typed. There were a lot of people who sat at sewing machines. There were, the Industrial Revolution sat a lot of people down. The difference is that they weren't snacking all day long on cheap cardboard. I usually cook with either olive oil or butter, but if I want an oil spray to coat veggies, for example, there's an avocado oil. It's good with no additives. Yep. What is it? The Trump and the fast food. The guy's a nut. It's his brain fade. So I'll just be quiet on this for now. Why? I'm reminded of I love the 90s when the Wow chips used Olestra, not fat. Yeah, oh my God. The anal leakage, that was warned. They warned you about it on the chip bag. Like, why would your body be in such a rush to get this crap out of you? I mean, that's really what that is. That is literally your body going, get this out of here. And like I've been, obviously, over the last, when I held the chip bag, yeah, Julie figures out there's less chance of someone poisoning you if you go to a fast food outlet. Yeah, that was a big part for him because he figures they can't. Yeah, anal leakage. That it is not something you want to hear. It's certainly not something you want printed as a warning on the back of your bag of chips. What the hell? Too much salt. They used, for example, Alestra, you're sitting in it. Oh, you're right. Seepage. Oh my God. Just horrifying. But, again, this was one of those things like, we don't want fat in our diet. Well, the fat was fine. Butter makes things better. I love making omelets in a pat of butter. Yep. Trump feeding sports teams fast food, nothing but class. Oh my God. Like, I literally, that's his externalization of his paranoia. So amazing. By the way, thank you guys for sticking around. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. I got to keep reminding to do that. Of course, patreon.com/Hal Sparks. If you want to, I should set a tier on there for like $6.66. It's something special. What's stopping me right now? What the heck? Why don't I just do it? That's the great thing about the internet. I'm gonna set the baseline reward tiers at, let's see, how do you do this? Where is this? Creator account. There it is. I don't know how to, I'm so little of this that I know how to do. It's I'm so trying to get better at this, and I just stink at it. And piece by piece. Let's see. Where the heck? Here it is. Explore. Let's see. Where is that? I don't even know. There it is. Benefits. There you go. There we go. Oh. Maybe that's it. This is so weird. This is like a job in and of its own right. Take a class. Yeah, really. It's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm sure there is one, but it probably costs more than $56 a month, which is how much I make on my Patreon. But I've gone up. I've gotten 2 new Patreons since I started pushing it. That's, I guess, a good thing, right? Yeah. Let's see. Posts, draft schedule. Where the heck is that? I don't know. It's so weird. Anyways, I'm gonna set that up. I will try to do a let's see. There we go. Pledge group. We'll figure it out. Literally, this is craziness. Yeah. So, okay, I'll figure it out later. We'll set up a 666 one for the HSRPM crowd. I now have a thing on there, though, now, which will help clarify the blue patch thing, so that if people get on there and they want to be a regular contributor, it allows me to get your address, and you get something in exchange for that patronage. So it's much easier to make sure people are getting their blue patches that way, instead of having to do a search and hope, without left of right, whatever, your cat has to go number 2, Carl. It's time to change the litter box. He just stepped on your keyboard and typed 02. That's hilarious. So anyways, now if you like the lowest patronage, which I think is like $5, if you do that, you get a blue patch. That's true of all of them, by the way, whichever one you sign up for. But it allows you to put in your address so I can send it to you there. It's much easier than trying to like sift through email and not knowing when people have asked or requested one or whatever. Apparently he's fond of oxygen. Right. Felt like death on the toilet earlier. That's where like Elvis. Oh my God. One of my favorite Chris Bono jokes. Patreon idea. Would you be up for a video chat in the future? Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'm going to set those up. I set up a Patreon only thing for YouTube streams, so that Patreons can just do that, so it can be a more like kind of powwow-ish kind of thing. You should have seen what he typed after that before I picked him up. But Chris Bono had this great bit as like Elvis's last thing when he died on the toilet. And now the end is near, and so I face the shower curtain. I just like that killed me. Cats are being problematic today. My cat barfed on my bed. Well, look at that. Well, I have a whole. And then my new stand-up show is just for you, Pamela. A great commercial last week. The O2 Arena in London. I like that place. I saw Def Leppard there. Well, yeah, I miss Chris too. We'll have to. We gotta dust him off, get him out in public again. He had open heart surgery, you know. Chris is he's at Bono Man on Twitter. So send him some love. If you guys didn't know that, it's been a year now, or maybe even more, but yeah. Idris Elba on SNL tonight. I hope it's good. I really loved Luther as a series. Like, I've watched it twice. I liked it so much. Although I do have this thing about friggin' British cop shows, man. Like, all of them have to have anger management and alcohol addiction problems and maybe committed the murder that they're investigating. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, tap the brakes. Not everything is Shakespearean. Some stuff is just people trying to fight, good people trying to fight bad people. There's a lot more of that in the world than there is, oh my God, there's a mole in the CIA BS. But yeah, if you haven't seen Luther, it's on Netflix. I love it. They jump the shark in, season 3, I think. But the first 2 are just great. You need to get him out opening for you again, Hal. Those are the days. I agree, although I don't know that he's up for it, so we'll see. And Charlene's been opening for me, and she's doing great, and she's, turning it into something. She's building a show, and, well, it ain't Columbo. Exactly. Idris is terrific. I will say, after the Oscars this year, and like, I think of the, like, I guess, well, of the actors, like, I think of the black actors who were up for an award, I think only one was an American actor. The rest were all British. And there's been a ton of like black actors from England getting cast and stuff. And you guys know what a chip I have on my shoulder about British and British Isles and UK actors coming over here and taking roles in general. Like, Carl! Like, everybody suddenly got a southern accent that changes every 2 minutes. And And I couldn't do the same in England. Like getting a visa to act in something in England is a tooth pull. But you can come over here, and the like casting offices have a whole get your visa to work right away. Just follow this line. Like it's super easy. It's kind of annoying, and there's a lot of great, African American actors, black actors who are Americans, who get sidelined for roles by black British actors. It happens so much. It's weird. And it bugs me. Yeah, they have a BAFTA already, the greedy bastards. Exactly. Like, honestly, there's so many great American actors, black and white and Asian, that the idea that you need to kind of farm them from another country is, it's especially when there's not that many roles. You could argue there's so many 40-something white guy roles or 20-something white guy roles that if a couple of them go to, foreigners, it's not a big deal because of the volume. But when you're talking about 6, maybe 8 lead roles a year, and 7 out of the 8, are going to, actors here on a visa from England. It's not fair. To the large amount of really, and obviously because I have a history with working with some great young African American actors on Lab Rats specifically, and their family and the talent of those people, and the idea that they would have to ice skate uphill for roles in their own country. It aggravates me. It aggravates me. High unemployment in Europe makes them very protective. Yeah, it's not in the acting realm, though. And high unemployment in acting is, welcome. Yeah, hop on board. Welcome to the whole thing. Yeah, James McAvoy, for Christ's sake. What is it? 3, 4, 5 different roles, yeah. All our American superheroes are getting Brit washed in our movies. Yeah. American actors are pretty faces. British actors are ugly but can act. What? That's a pretty broad brush. Idris is awesome. However, I still think there are people here, of equal or, greater talent that have yet to be discovered, who deserve to get their shot. And they won't be if they keep funneling it from somewhere else. So there you go. Anyways, that's my soapbox for the moment. I'm obviously not against actors from other countries coming here and working. That's in general. Just, yeah. But it's amazing how I told you guys how I was held up in the airport waiting for visa clearance because Canada wanted us to to enforce hiring more Canadian actors in a show that was filmed for an American audience. It wasn't like a Canadian show and we brought a bunch of actors up there to because we were producing a Canadian show up there. This was is for American production, yeah. There's some good-looking American actors that can really act. I think Chris Pine is a good example. I agree. Andrew Garfield was born in L.A., yeah. Good news from my Broadway daughter. They're rebooting the musical Oklahoma for 6 months this year, and my child is the understudy for the female lead. That's awesome, Billy. Congratulations to her. Send her our love. That's awesome. Halsplaining. Damn straight. By the way, you want another? Should we do another unpopular opinion? Um, the female equivalent of mansplaining is momsplaining. When you talk down to someone as if you're their mom, all of a sudden, like, how dare you question me? And in a regular disagreement, that's momsplaining. But how? While you were at the airport, didn't you save someone's life? Yeah. What's that relate to? Sorry. Oh, different airport, Brad. And he was a Guatemalan grandfather, so he was not. Like, obviously, Canada doesn't care. Yeah. He was in lives saved. You know, he was number 10 for me. So there. Patrick McGowan, British actor, was born on Long Island to British parents. Bradley Cooper used to be a little gay, but then he gave it up. What? I don't know that it works that way, but okay. You can tell the Canadians in those shows. Yeah, because they all say sorry. At one point, we had a literally Peter Page. We were doing a scene, and he was supposed to say sorry, and as part of the dialogue, and he kept saying sorry because that's how Canadians say it. And he had not only had he been hanging out with, like working on set with Canadians, but had, but he had, I think he'd been hanging out with some Canadians after work, as it were, and had picked up that habit. He was like, "Oh my God, I can't stop saying sorry." He was saying sorry. I'm like, dude, we have to have a talk with the Canadians when they come on, not to say, don't say sorry, don't throw an A on the end of something by accident, which they would do all the time, even though they're like, we don't say A. You say A, Canadians. You say A. You throw A on the end of stuff. I love The Prisoner. Who else did you say, Val? Mostly people from drowning in the creek behind my house, because people would swim there and fish there. So over the course of living there till I was 14, I pulled 7 people. 5 people out of the creek, 2 at the pool in Frankfurt, and then 3 cases of CPR. Yeah. So I feel like I've chalked up. I've earned my, my good karma for life. What else thinks the U.S. Canada should merge? Who else thinks U.S., Canada, and Mexico should merge into one country? I don't think that. I only heard A once during my last trip to Canada. I was disappointed. Yeah, you just have to go to Toronto. Speaking of which, did you see that tweet I sent you of you clapping and screaming woo? I don't know. I don't know that I saw that. EO. Oh, he used to talk about his time in D.C. going to gym and meeting guys. That's interesting. Well, maybe he's gay and just decided to stop talking about it. And again, this goes into the whole, it eats into your, if it eats into your work and limits you for a time, and you're not violating your own sense of, you're not denying who you are or whatever. You're just not. It's nobody's business. I don't have a problem with that. And especially these days, it's a very different circumstance. So that's where I was. Hal, what a ripoff. Oh, I'm sorry. Any idea your next Vegas date yet? I do not, but they're looking right now. So because I'm going to be around for a little bit. As a lead in several plays when I was young, I was to learn the whole cast lines and help them out if they fail on stage. Maybe I'm just a little OCD. Beto O'Rourke just emailed that he has a big announcement coming soon. Okay, that's interesting. I hope he's running for Senate again and not running for president. Let's see. I want a full blue wave in 2020. Get rid of the entire administration. They are detrimental to our health. Investigation, impeachment to educate the people. I agree, Pamela. But again, this is going to have to be a all hands on deck thing. And right now, currently speaking, statistically, Trump has a 51% chance of winning the election. So let that soak in for a minute. Knowing CPR is like having jumper cables in your trunk, ready to help others. Yes, everybody learn CPR. Everybody listening, to do me a favor, learn CPR. Thank you. That's it. Learn CPR. And if you can learn some basic first aid too at the same time, that'd be awesome. I'll let you know. Can't Stop Lying, especially. So he's pregnant. I want Canada to adopt my state. I don't want to get a bigger country. I'm scrolling back through it there to check it. If you didn't live there as a kid, think there would be. Let's see. Ellie, that's great, Hal. If you didn't live there as a kid, think what the world would be like unless you saved Trump's life. And then no, Brad. We save anybody's life who's in trouble. What they do with it is, should be reflective of that fact. And to learn CPR back when I taught yoga. Yeah, it's a good idea. CPR, ACLS since 1982, have to keep it up. That's awesome. Canada's not that great, big polluter. Canada's great. All first world countries are big polluters. All third world countries are big polluters. It's something we all have to fix. Nobody is carrying a special weight right now in the world as far as damage. Like the reach of global pollution, and especially plastics, is evenly spread between like first and third world countries. The difference is that most first world countries have an infrastructure in place to deal with a portion of it at least. It's something like everybody has to be on board with. Canada's a big polluter per capita. Yeah, but they're a huge country with very few people in it. I'm amazed how Hugh Laurie controlled his accent. I'm not. You ever watch a little bit of Fry and Laurie, the sketch comedy show he did with Stephen Fry? Awesome. If you haven't watched that, you also need to watch. You need to watch a bit of Fry and Laurie, and you need to watch Blackadder, and you need to watch Not the 9 o'clock News with Rowan Atkinson and that crowd before they got big. Because damn, it's good, and it could be done today. Most of the sketches on that show are it's like Groundhog Day. It's amazing. Oh, that's nice. So yeah, smaller population equals bigger polluter per capita, right? The people who hired Laurie for House were so dumb they didn't know he was a Brit. Well, no. That's not true. Most people know him from House MD, though. Well, they do now. That's like saying most people know me as Mr. Davenport, and they don't, and people who know Michael are, confused by why these kids are so interested. That kind of stuff. And our cows are gassier. The Gunsler. It was a pretty good kind of espionage thriller. That's cool. Hal just did a secret James Bond thing with those. Watch. Shh. I could be the next James Bond. I don't think that's a bad thing per se. I mean, part Scottish. He's, he was a Scot. Just saying. I was an Apple Watch. I poke around on my head. Well, and Carl, I have mine set up now to open my computer when I walk up. That's probably one of the most useful things it does right now. That and set my fasting. Like, as I use the Zero app for fasting, and like there's an app on here or whatever, and so it'll connect to my phone, and then so like there's my current fast going right there. So I'm at 20 hours and 31 minutes. Not bad, not bad. So it has been 20 hours and 31 minutes since I've had a scrap of food. It's been a nice, great show. Thank you, Pamela, for coming with us. Tom Cruise does it, so can you. Right. My alarm just went off. Hal looks more like Colin Firth with the glasses. Colin Firth? Wait. Men at work? What do you mean? Or am I... Oh, Colin Firth, right. 14% Scotch Irish. That'll work. Permafrost melting releases lots of methane. This is true. Looking for the next Bond. Craig is out after the next one. Yep. We need a brunette again, I think. Speaking of OMAD, do you eat at the same time every day, like eat at 24 hours? Just about. It rotates a little bit. I give myself a 2 to 3 hour window, so usually it's at around 4:30, 5 o'clock, depending on if I have a show. If I don't have a show, then I eat a little bit later, like 6. Actually, I look like Mo Rocca? Really? If a young woman said that, people would say she has an ED, just making the distinction. An ED? I don't know what you mean. Example of what you eat. Well, I'm an omnivore these days, so I do eat meat again. And I will have, like, what did I, like yesterday, I had 3 large pieces of salmon, asparagus, 2 of those, like, there's these little like little bars or whatever that have like dates, egg whites, I forget the name of them, little natural bars, and eating disorder. What are you talking about? And let's see, mashed potatoes that were like they were like red potatoes, mashed red potatoes, 6 raw eggs. What else? I had a large yerba mate tea, and I had, let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm sorry. The days start blending. Yeah, the RX bars. Thank you, Adrian. Yeah. Oh, I see what ED meant. I see. Gotcha. So if most girls said that, they'd say they have an eating disorder? Is that what you're saying? If a young woman said that, people would just say she hasn't, I see. Gotcha. Okay. Raw eggs, wouldn't that make you sick? No. Not so far. There's a new book on global warming, The Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace. Chris Hayes just did a podcast on it. Why is this happening? Cool. Skip all that. Instead, when you wake up, just lay on your stomach for as long as you can. What? 6 rugs. Are you planning on fighting Apollo Creed? Yeah. Well, that, I started reading about the value of eggs in the diet and how to consume them and blah, blah, blah. The rocky thing of the 4 eggs, I was like, okay, how am I going to get, if I'm only eating one once a day, how am I going to get enough proteins and fats and nutrients into my body that are necessary? And so I was looking at, Summer is a huge Rocky fan. The chat is ahead of Al's feet. Yes, this is true. Eggs only make you sick if you leave them out overnight. It's a little more complicated than that, but I had raw eggs and it made me sick. Yeah. Well, Summer's a huge Rocky fan. We watch it all the time. And they make a big deal of it in the first Rocky and in the last Rocky when he's getting back in shape to fight right before the Creed movies. When he has that last fight and he's drinking the raw eggs. Ate my one raw egg right after seeing Rocky. Yeah. So the funny thing was, so I started looking into like, okay, eggs, like what, maybe that's one of the ways that I do it. Because I, even as a lacto-ovo vegetarian, before I became vegan, I was eating eggs. So maybe I go back to eating eggs and then change how I consume them, cook them or anything. Well, the salmonella aspect of it is apparently, and, again, total disclaimer. Legally, I'm not responsible, blah, blah, blah. This is just what I think and what I've learned and what I'm using and what seems to work for me. The salmonella and other stuff is allegedly on the shell itself, not inside the egg. So you crack it on another surface, not on the glass you're drinking it from, to protect yourself, or you wash the shell beforehand. So, yeah, Rocky Balboa. Thank you, Carl. So, what's disorder? The danger of raw eggs is salmonella, especially if they come from factory farms. Yeah, but it's on the shell is the idea. So you crack them on a different surface than the actual thing. Yeah. So I think what Hal does is ordered eating because he makes sure he meets his nutrient standard. Exactly. So, in that, yeah, but it's usually because people have cracked it and the shell goes into it or whatever. So I rinse them. I'm just telling you how I do it. So you rinse the eggshell, crack it in the egg, and I do anywhere between 4 and 6 of them, depending on whether or not the meal I'm having that night is big enough. So last night, for example, I went to the Scottish Rite, and there was a meal served. And there wasn't going to be, since it was my only meal of the day, it wasn't going to be big enough for what I needed to get all of that in there. So I supplemented with eggs, right? And so I want to see, it's called the 36 egg diet. So this is crazy. There's been a lot of stuff about like eating eggs and the value of, how they work or whatever. There's a diet, and this is crazy, called the 36 egg a day diet. And it's not a diet. It's it's something you do as a course for a time. It's crazy. But it's literally if you eat 3 dozen eggs a day, this guy Vince Gironda did that. They found out scientifically that it is the equivalent, it's like a natural version of doing a course of steroids in terms of what it does for your body as far as building muscle and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to do steroids, but I'm also not about to eat 36 eggs a day. Like, that's insanity, right? So, and the eggs I get are from Whole Foods, and they're the omega-3 ones that they have. So they're cage free. That it matters. So, anyways, this 30. So I read up on this for the 30. Like when I was reading about egg consumption or whatever. This is one of the things that came up. It's the 36 egg a day diet, and I was like, that's crazy. But raising the volume of them that I consume might be good for a time. And so what I did was I decided to up them to, and I started doing the raw eggs, as a part. Yeah. So there you go. Let's see. There's a line in Devil Wears Prada where one character says she's on this new diet. She doesn't eat anything. And then when she feels like she's about to faint, she eats a cube of cheese. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Chickens are fed masses of calcium phosphate to harden their eggshells. Well, depends on where you get them from. If someone looks like a skeleton, they have some sort of illness. ED is a good guess. I agree. Eating disorder. Raw eggs. Hal is channeling the most recent Tarzan movie. I didn't see that, but okay. I grew up on a chicken ranch. We had eggs everywhere. Yeah, besides Hal, you might start to cluck. Yes, it's true. Brought to you by the American Egg Producers. Right. Nope. Don't they bleach egg shells, though? I don't know, because I get brown eggs from the store, so I don't know. The ones that Bumper and Chad at the house, the guys in the band, they eat a lot of eggs, but they buy them in those like big trays from the store, and they're all bleached white and crazy. They just look weird to me now after eating brown shelled eggs for so long. Like it just looks unnatural. It looks like white sugar. It's weird. Obese people have EDs too. They have the binge eating disorder without the purge, but it's essentially the same thing. You're getting very sleepy now. You're a chicken. How many times have you clucked? 0, for the record. We like I I've been watching as we, obviously currently in the United States, overweight people are the majority. They're no longer a minority. They haven't been for a very long time. And I'm of the belief for a while that had the body positivity or fat acceptance movements happened in the 90s, for example, they would have been more akin to an actual movement to protect people, and kind of be for mental health and that kind of stuff. But because they happen now that the public is majority overweight, it really just seems more like marketing to a new crowd. That the new mannequins at Target didn't show up until about 3 years ago. Now that we've crested, into 10% over into that, into the majority of Americans being overweight. Like I said, if it had come earlier, I would believe that it was for the benefit of people who are marginalized in that regard. So that's my concern, is that once it starts being capitalized on as a sales point, there's an impetus to to encourage it. The diet industry is the cause of obesity. I disagree. Overeating is the cause of obesity. You can't remove agency from human beings. Yo-yo dieting is far more unhealthy. Possibly. Obviously, no one should yo-yo diet. I don't think people set out to yo-yo diet. I think each time they do it, they're trying to actually make it work. And my experience, especially lately, over the last couple of, last 4 years, I've been doing intermittent fasting, and in the last 6 months, as I've been doing, the 1 meal a day thing, is that it's less about what you eat and more about when you eat, especially in terms of when you're taking care of yourself. I think the overeating is a symptom of the problem now. No, because if you stop the symptom, the disease goes away, as far as its health impacts. I think a lot of people overeat because of emotional stuff, and that needs to be dealt with. But, yeah, too much processed food and sugar, and eating more calories than you need. Being overweight and obesity is a first world problem. It hands down. Because when we live in a world where 1 in 7 people is in danger of dying of starvation, or children have food scarcity in this country, if you have more calories than you need to operate, you are privileged. That's a privilege. And there are the thing is, it is impossible to unpack the causes of obesity, because they are myriad, and the only intervention that can be valuable is towards those that can be helped by that intervention. That's the thing, because some people become obese because they have injuries or physical maladies or thyroid problems and those kind of stuff. Other people do it because of traumatic events in their lives, and other people do it simply because they are unaware of the impact it's having on their body until it's too late. The boiling frog situation. Either way, those all three need a solution. The long-term solution is to solve the baseline problem. The short-term solution is caloric limitation and conscious eating. Yeah, but Ginger, you're in the process of actually losing weight, so you're in a caloric deficit on purpose. But I don't think the world sees you as obese and assumes that you eat more than you need. It may assume that at one point you did. The question of why you did is maybe some conversation worth having. If no, I'm saying nobody gets fat from the meal they're eating right now. It's sort of the same semblance of somebody who's anorexic. If you're sitting at the dinner table and you're not eating, people are going to look at you and go, okay, you're doing something. The reason you're skinny is you're not eating. You know what I mean? It's those kind of moments. Obviously, it leads up to, a point or whatever. But if you're solving it, the process of solving it, people can think what they want, right? That has to be part of the process of getting past it. So, anyways, the point isn't like people to argue about how they got where they are or whether or not it's okay or whether it's not. There are health ramifications of being that way. You should work to mitigate it. And one of the ways we do that is, through what works. And for what I've been talking about and the impact that I've seen, like, obviously conscious eating is a big part of it, but that's not the same thing as stressing about eating. Conscious eating is focusing on what's good for your body and when, and then stressing about it is just another is another like kind of springboard to being not healthy. So, let's see. Last time I was seen at that facility, I get have you thought about watching what you eat? Yeah, they're going to say that every single time. Because it is a future predictor of ill health. They're not being mean. They're trying to figure out a long-term solution to other stuff that's going to be cresting on the horizon, especially if you dealt with cancer injuries before. They're going to go, how do we mitigate these? And one of the ways you do is don't overtax your frame with weight. It's not a judgment emotionally. It's that, people see me and assume I'm at the starting point. Maybe so. And all you have to do in those situations is, this is, I'm obviously watching what I eat and I've lost pounds and I'm working on this and I'm being more active and they'll go, oh, good. And that's the end of the conversation. The problem is that people, because they're afraid of that question, hide it from their doctor and then end up, in a binge and purge or a binge habit cycle, and the hiding of it becomes unhealthy. I think I think it's good to remove some of the stigma. I don't owe Rando Joe that accountability. Well, they're a doctor though. I'm assuming what you're talking about is a doctor. I don't think they're random. They're a medical professional you've seen. They're trying to help. They assume I don't care at all. Well, that's their assumption. You can't do anything about anybody's assumptions. I just got back from the gym, first workout in 10 years, man. I'm out of gym. Well, you don't get to jump right in. Yeah, good for you. It just takes a little bit. And nobody gets the right to say that to another human being randomly. Well, if they're a doctor and they're not random, are they? Oh, well, strangers, yeah, who cares? You guys know me. Of all the stuff I've done, you think I could do half of it if I cared what strangers thought, on the negative? I give strangers the ability to shoot compliments my way because I'll use those as road markers. But anybody's detrimental idea, they have no idea the path I'm on, so I ignore them. I use positive reinforcement that I get externally as roadmaps. They go, okay, good. For me, I'm on my path. But if somebody just randomly shoots me some sort of, slam or whatever, they're not aware. They don't know what my path is or where I am on that path, so they don't get to give me anything but encouragement. I don't get encouragement from anything but encouragement from strangers as policy. Yeah. I'm saying that obesity is way too complex for individuals to whittle down to such a one-line solution. It's not that easy. I agree with you, but I will say the solution on a material level, and you are already participating in it, is conscious eating and caloric limitation and activity. And the weight loss industry selling this, and they make a lot of money with it. And just creates customers. I don't know. I don't know what they're supposed to do. The weight loss industry is trying to sell weight loss as based on there are genuine health ramifications of of being overweight that are long term for men and women, for everybody. And at some point, somebody's going to come up with a solution to try and limit that or mitigate it, and they're going to make a living at it. And I don't know that they want people to keep gaining the weight back. I don't know if there's if there's been any conspiratorial stuff around, Jenny Craig or any of those kind of things. And I don't, I've never participated in any of those things, obviously, so I wouldn't know. But hell, most health supplements are actually full of lead. That's not even close to true, EO. Again, we got to be careful about these giant swaths of stuff. I do 3 sets of push-ups, but only on Saturdays after being motivated by how the rest of there you go. Body weight can be really tied to mental, emotional health. Marketing, just the physical aspect is seriously flawed. They have nothing to gain with your success. Well, you're a good example of it successful so they can sell it to other people, and there's plenty of other people for them to sell it to. If the more you've been able to keep the weight up, the bottom line depends on you, depending on their product. I would agree with, if there's any kind of supplemental stuff as far as and by the way, I think everything you need to know about dietary management and health, you can pretty much find for free on YouTube these days. Like most of the stuff you used to pay for, or the arranged diet stuff, is available elsewhere for free. And I would signing up for those big things. I always look at those ads when I see them, for the Jenny Craig things of the world as absurd, ridiculous, and if anything, just baseline starter kits that once you start doing it, you go, okay, now I can take over, and to be clear, I mean the literal diet industry that says do this for a while and you'll be thin and all your problems will be solved. Yeah, I think commercials sell that kind of idea anyways. They sell that about cars. It's a one-trick pony for emotional encouragement that the ad world has been using forever. But in all seriousness, if you were to start, and this is the question you ask yourself, if you were to start a weight loss company that really tailors to people and go, okay, this would really help people, I believe this would help people, and you put it together, before too long, it would look like Jenny Craig. I've had more success with you by saying, look, this is what you do, this is what you're going to face, and this is how you handle. Yeah, well, that's because I'm not in the business of doing it. I just care about you, and I want you to be healthy and happy and live a long time so that so you can write 64 more books and 25 screenplays and hopefully be in one. So it's completely out of self-interest. But I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of you for the change you've made, and I'm proud of you for the work you're doing. And it is also, God damn it, why I am such a hardliner on belief in one's ability, personal agency, and the ability to take control of the most basic aspects of your life. Let's see, simple is not always the same as easy. I learned that a few years ago. No, I never said it was easy. As a matter of fact, sometimes focusing on the simple things and excluding all the extraneous, noisy parts while you're trying to get it done is the work of life. We had this talk about the stoicism aspect of things in that video I put out, and if you want to go check that out, you can. But honestly, I take very seriously. Any point you have control over your life, you have a responsibility to take control of, not only for your own benefit, but out of respect for those people who do not have control over it. Yeah. Bye, Julie. Bye, EO. Yeah, this is a long one today. I obviously picked up a whole thing. So, bye, Julie. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for the super chats today. Everybody's got to bail out. You can tell as conversations gets into the deep reads. I'll do this as a short one. But sorry if there's been some streaming issues. It's fine on my end, so I'm not quite sure what the deal is.